Greetings, my name is Charles McCall, and I'm Director of Mentoring Growing Leaders, and we're at lesson number 4 in a 13-part lesson of 5-minute videos. We'll give 5 minutes, give or take a little bit, 5-minute videos, and we're addressing the subject, does God cause calamity and disaster? And the subtitle is Understanding the Ways of God. And so what I'm doing is just in these short 5-minute lessons, just laying a foundation. We're using the Bible as our guide. I'm a student of the Bible, I'm a teacher of the Bible, I've read the Bible, and as we study this question, it's very clear the conclusion that we come to. And I'm sharing it with you step by steps, in small baby steps. And I'm happy to send this to you. I have a PDF article on this whole subject and many more articles on all kinds of this subjects, Noah's flood and the nature and character attributes of God and doctrine and many other subjects. Just email me if you're interested. I'm happy to send those to you for free of charge. But in this lesson, we're looking at the sovereignty of God, and we're looking that God is sovereign over the nations of the earth. Okay, God is sovereign over nature, God is sovereign over plant and animal life, and God is sovereign over the nations of the earth. Psalms 22 verse 28 says, "For dominion belongs to the Lord, He rules over all the nations." So this is interesting. As we study history and we see the rise and the fall of nations and the conquering and the submission of nations in history, it's very interesting knowing that God has been involved in history. I want to say this again, that when it's necessary for God to become directly involved, to change something or to cause something to occur, to fulfill His plan and purposes on earth, in a city, in a nation, or in an individual's life, God will intervene. But He will do that without violating the free will of mankind. You and I have the freedom to do what we're going to do. But again, I don't want to give away the very, very good news as we eventually get to these lessons, but God can intervene. God can intervene in nations, and He does intervene in nations at times. In Daniel chapter 4, verse 25, God says through Daniel to King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, which is Iraq area nowadays, "You will be driven away from the people, O king, and you will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like cattle, and you will be drenched with the dew of heaven. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High God is sovereign over the kingdoms of men, and He gives them to anyone He wishes." That says it pretty clear, is that God can, if God so chooses, to accomplish something that He wants to accomplish. God can choose leaders, God can place leaders, God can raise leaders up, God can bring leaders down. And so that's very clear for us. The scriptures emphatically declare that God uses nations and people groups to accomplish His will. We see that all throughout the Bible, that God will use nations, He will use people groups to accomplish His will on the earth. God used nations such as Assyria and Babylon and Egypt to execute judgment on Israel and Judah when they were disobeying Him and in rebellion against Him. And God's intention was for those nations to respond to Him and acknowledge Him as the one true God. But unfortunately, most of them did not. After God would use a nation, after God would prosper a nation, His hopes were that they would respond to Him and acknowledge Him and work together with Him to establish His kingdom on the earth. But it's sad to say, history shows us that many of them did not, and so therefore God had to execute judgment on them as well. And so, as we shall see, there are many times when God directly influences a national leader or a group of people to do a specific thing that He wants to do. And there are other times that He allows them to fulfill what they want to do, the intent of their heart, but He uses what they have intended themselves to accomplish what He wants to accomplish. Let me say that again, because it's a very important point. we see in the Bible, we see in history, there are times when God will directly influence a leader of a nation or a leader of an area to do what he wants them to do. Again, he doesn't force them to do it, but he influences. He arranges circumstances to guide them to do what he wants to do. What he wants to be done according to his will for that specific situation. But there are other times that God will allow those leaders to do what they want to do. He allows them to do what they want to do, but God will guide what they want to do to accomplish his will anyway. I want to encourage you. You'll see on the video, you'll see my email address, you'll see my Facebook account, blog, and my LinkedIn. I encourage you to subscribe to all of those. Communicate with me if you have questions. If you want any of my lessons, if you want this lesson, if you want these slides, if you want this entire typed out lesson in PDF format, I'm happy to send that to you. I'd like to encourage you to subscribe to this YouTube channel, to like this video, and to click the bell button so that you're notified the next time that I upload a video. And if this has been interesting or helpful to you, I encourage you to copy the link and paste it into the Facebook or the Twitter or whatever other social media that you use so that you can share it with other people as well. Thank you so very much.